The Senate will come to order. Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues and guests, will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mr. Majors, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgardner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, John, Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Umenick, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Todd, Ulibarri, Woods. Mr. President.
Here, 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, thank you. I move that we... Thank you. I thought I could pull it off without the script. I'm sorry.
Minority Leader
I
Carroll.
move that the reading of the journal of yesterday be dispensed with and journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary. Dang it.
A roll call has been requested. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion is approved. The journal is adopted. Committee reports.
March 3rd, 2015, Committee on Local Government. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1092 be amended as follows. Now so amended before the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. March 3rd, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Local Government has had under consideration at that hearing on the following appointment. Recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Advisory Committee to the Property Tax Administrator for a term expiring September 1st, 2018. Corbin Sackdahl of Littleton, Colorado, serves as an assessor from a county with a population over 75,000 and as a Republican appointed. March 3rd, 2015, Committee on Local Government. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1192 be referred to the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. March 4th, 2015, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1117 be referred to the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. March 4th, 2015, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 122 be referred to the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. March 4, 2015, Mr. President, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Workers' Compensation Cost Containment Board, effective December 31st, 2014, for a term expiring December 13th, 2017. Jeffrey Michael Citron of Denver, Colorado, serves as an executive with good risk management experience in the insurance industry, reappointed. March 4, 2015, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1060 be referred to the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. March 4, 2015, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1072 be referred favorably to the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. March 4, 2015, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration, the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1122 be referred to the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar.
Senate Services.
March 5, 2015, correctly printed, Senate Bill 202, correctly enrolled, Senate Bills 57 and 142.
Message from the House.
March 3, 2015, Mr. President, the Speaker has appointed Representatives Winters, Chairman Buck, and Kraft Harbor's House conferees on the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 85. March 4, 2015, Mr. President, the Speaker has appointed Representatives Hamner, Chair, Young, and Rankin as House conferees on the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 161. March 4, 2015, Mr. President, the House has voted to concur in Senate amendments to House Bills 1029 and 1059 and has repassed the bills as so amended. The House has voted to recede from its position on Senate Bill 159 and has repassed the bill. The bill is returned herewith. The House has voted to grant the House conferees on the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 85 to consider matters not at issue between the two houses.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would request that under General Order, second reading of bills consent calendar, that Senate Bill 182 and Senate Bill 186 be removed and added to the end of the General Order, second reading of bills calendar.
Senate Bill 182 and Senate Bill 186 will be removed from the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar and placed at the end of the General Order second reading of bills calendar, which takes us to General Order second reading of bills consent calendar. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee resolve itself into the committee of the whole, Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Holbert will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the titles to all the bills listed on the consent calendar?
House Bill 1070 by Representative Buckner and Senator Martinez Humana concerning changes to the crime profits distribution statute. House Bill 1094 by Representative Lee and Senators Cook and Newell concerning restorative justice. House Bill 1137 by Representative Becker Kay and Senator Cook concerning request for multiple booking photographs. House Bill 1174 by Representative Carver and Senator Woods concerning the confidentiality of personal information for participants in the Address Confidentiality Program and in connection therewith protecting victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. House Bill 1034 by Representative Vigil and Senator Crowder concerning an increase in the number of district court judges of the 12th Judicial District and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Senate Bill 189 by Senator Stedman and Representative Rankin concerning the repeal of Consolidated Tobacco Settlement Program monitoring and reporting requirements. Senate Bill 190 by Senator Grantham and Representative Hamner concerning the repeal of the requirement that the Executive Director of the Department of Personnel promulgate rules to establish state archives fees. Senate Bill 110 by Senator Baumgartner and Representative Janal concerning the continuation of the regulation of the Director of the Division of Professions and Occupations of Funeral Establishments in connection with implementing the recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies as contained in the 2014 Sunset Report.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the committee adopt all of the bills listed on the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1070, House Bill 1094, House Bill 1137, House Bill 1174, House Bill 1034, Senate Bill 189 and its associated Appropriations Committee report, Senate Bill 190, Senate Bill 110 and its associated Business, Labor, and Technology report and its associated Appropriations Committee report. And I don't know if I missed it, Mr. Chairman, but Senate Bill 189 and its associated Appropriations Committee report.
Very good. Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the reports to all of the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills listed on the general orders consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
Thank you. The Senate will come back to order. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
March 5th, 2015, Mr. President, your committee of the whole basically reports that in consideration of the following tax bills being a second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 189 as amended, Senate Bill 190, Senate Bill 110 as amended, passed on second reading in order and gross placed on the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bills 1070, 1094, 1137, 1174, and 1034 passed on second reading in order to revise, placed on the counter for third reading and final passage.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the report.
Is there any discussion on the Committee of the Whole report? Are there any no votes? 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused. The Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 189 is amended. Senate Bill 190, Senate Bill 110 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1070, 1094, 1137, 1174, 1034 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills. Senator Holbert will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. The Colt rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1055?
House Bill 1055 by Representative Asgar and Senator Grantham concerning the participation of people who are not state employees in the State Employee Assistance Program established by the State Personnel Director.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1055.
To the bill, Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, this bill is in regard to the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program. It's really a technical cleanup on what the original intent of the program was. There's been a reinterpretation, at least of one of the words in the statute, that has completely befuddled the entire intent of what the program was meant to be. And this is clarifying that language in statute as far as the participation of dependents, spouses, and others within the program. The reinterpretation of one of the words, the word being participate in the statute, basically disallowed the participation of those family members within the counseling aspect, the professional assessment, the referral, the short-term counseling that CSEAT does and offers to state employees. This doesn't extend benefits to anyone outside of the state employees. This doesn't extend those services beyond those who are actually state employees. This just allows those, as was already practiced, this allows those who are family members to participate in the counseling as it benefits the state employee. But it brings no fiscal note with it. It brings no additional cost to it. It is simply allowing the participation of those dependents or persons who can help the actual employee in the situations where they require assessment and counseling under this program. And I would ask for an aye vote.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to come and rise in support of House Bill 1055. And members, from my background in HR in the private sector, this is common practice and actually best practice, because you have the employee who is already there in the appointment, and all you're doing with this bill is to add the family member into that same appointment. There's no additional fee, there's no additional service. It's the existing appointment that's already going on. But you might have a situation where it's they're getting financial counseling, or they're getting addiction counseling, and in order to for the best healing and the best treatment, then you want to involve the family members that are being affected by that addiction, so you just bring them into the already existing session. So I just wanted to thank the senator from down south for bringing this forward, and to acknowledge that it is common practice, best practice, and it doesn't cost any more money. And in fact, employee assistance programs are very popular in the private sector because they do save money for the companies. So I just wanted to thank you so much for bringing this forward, and I would ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion on House Bill 1055? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1055. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1055 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 137?
Senate Bill 137 by Senator Ballmer, Representatives Del Grosso and Janal, concerning business entities permitted to provide the program of all-inclusive care for the elderly.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee lay over Senate Bill 137 to March 10. Ask for an aye vote.
Motion is to lay over Senate 137 to March 10. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The bill will lay over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Majors, please read the title of Senate Bill 188.
Senate Bill 188 by Senator Stedman and Representative Rankin, concerning the use of the first year of statutory allocated tobacco litigation settlement money in connection with making an annual statutory allocation of such money to the tobacco settlement defense account of the tobacco litigation settlement cash fund, and making an offsetting reduction in the annual statutory allocation of such money to the Children's Basic Health Plan Trust, authorizing the Department of Revenue to use money of the tobacco settlement defense account for settlement enforcement related activities, and making an appropriation.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 188 on second reading. There are no committee reports, and the title of the bill completely describes it, so it's a great bill. Vote yes.
Senator Stedman, congratulations. I believe you have the longest title of the session thus far. Is there further discussion? Senator Lambert.
I believe this is a JVC bill, and I think it was a very, very tight title for a reason. So I think it's a pretty good bill. Please vote yes.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 188? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 188. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 188 is adopted. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 191.
Senate Bill 191 by Senators Sheffel and Carroll and Representatives Duran and Del Grosso, concerning payment of expenses of the Legislative Department.
Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my privilege, together with the Minority Leader, to move Senate Bill 191, which is the Legislation Appropriations Bill. There is no committee report.
Is there further discussion? There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Majors, would you please read the amendment?
Amendment L001 to Senate Bill 191 by Senators Lambert, Cadman, Sheffel, and Carroll. Amendment printed bill, page 2, line 2, strike $40,420,144 and substitute $40,450,144. Page 2, line 3, strike $39,300.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L001 to Senate Bill 191.
To the amendment, Senator Lambert.
Just like to say, first of all, this bill is not a budget committee bill, so of course it's going to have some flaws in it. But as Mr. Majors just read, you really can't tell from the amendment what it does because it's just a bunch of numbers. So I'll tell you what it does. We have been trying to do a backup system for the legislature for a number of years, and to do the backup into the eFort system, which is located in Centennial and I think on Kipling. And there were some problems with that. First of all, it was pretty expensive to do, and then there were concerns about security of the system and how data could be accessed, for instance, by the executive branch. It would not be contained within the legislative branch. So there were some concerns just about possibility of legislature losing some control of that data. Legislative Council staff, Mr. Maurer, has been working on this for some time and has found a way of doing this both securely and for lower cost. And the net of this, I believe, is about $30,000 rather than like $250,000 that was being cited before. It was significantly higher over the last couple of years. So Mr. Maurer, I think, and his staff need to be commended on lowering this cost down to something that's very affordable, meets the requirements, and that's what L001 does. So I would ask for an aye vote.
Senator Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I also ask for an aye vote on L001. As stated, it's adding $30,000 for legislative backup on IT, and ask for an aye vote.
Senator Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would ask for an aye vote on this amendment. It's a fine amendment, represents significant work in a bipartisan manner. We should adopt it.
Is there further discussion on L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L001. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L001 is adopted. Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 191? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 191. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 191 is adopted. Mr. Majors, please read the title to Senate Bill 187.
Senate Bill 187 by Senator Grantham and Representative Young concerning authorization for the High Performance Transportation Enterprise to deposit money received as a loan from the State Highway Fund to the separate account when the Statewide Transportation Enterprise Special Revenue Fund.
Senator Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 187 and ask for an aye vote.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I also urge a yes vote on this. This is for the High Performance Transportation Enterprise within the Colorado Department of Transportation, and it's an agency, I think, that needs a lot of transparency, more transparency than it has, and also accountability, and that's what this does. It makes sure that the state controller can follow the money. The reason that is important because these user fees, these toll fees, when you get in a toll lane, are set by the High Performance Transportation Enterprise. I went and looked yesterday at the criteria for choosing how much to charge for a toll. And while the travel rate is a big deal, so the buses move fast, which is a great thing, there isn't anything I could find, and I've asked for clarification, that says the rate should be as low as feasible so that people in these toll lanes don't get overcharged. And so that user fee money, that user fee revenue that they're tracking here, this is one small step to help with that, but it's a much bigger issue I think we need to address because it's hard to follow what goes on in that department, to be honest with you. So I ask for a yes vote.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 187? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 187. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 187 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 182?
Senate Bill 182 by Senators Garcia and Crowder and Representatives Navarro and Esgar concerning allowing the Department of Corrections to transfer certain offenders to the youthful offender system to participate in age-appropriate programs.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move SB 15182 forward. No committee reports.
To the bill, Senator Crowder.
Thank you. What this bill is very simple. You know, what it is the youth offender system versus the DOC. Right now, what we have in play is we have 256 bed units at the youth offender system, and what we're trying to do under age 24 is the ability to move individuals from DOC to the YOS if need be. You know, what we're talking about, the YOS, the Youth Offender System, is basically designed for those violent crimes for youth. The DOC, the individuals under the age of 24 are sent there for possibly the issue of a nonviolent crime. So what we're doing is we're taking the nonviolent youth, putting them with the general population of the Department of Corrections, when the reality is they could very well be utilized in the youth offender, and they could get more training. Go ahead. They could get more training, and it would benefit the recidivism issue. I serve on the DOC commission, and we've been working at this for quite a while, and I think it's a good program, and I would urge an aye vote on that. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 182? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 182. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 182 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 186?
Senate Bill 186 by Senator Woods concerning the exemption of yoga teacher training from regulation under statutes governing private occupational education.
Senator Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 186 and the committee report from the Appropriations Committee.
To the Appropriations Committee report, Senator Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Appropriations Committee report just adds the appropriation to the bill.
Is there further discussion on the Appropriation Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. Senator Woods to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 186 is the bill that we have put forth this year to exempt yoga teacher training studios from regulation under the statutes. Came through the Education Committee unanimously, and the yoga teacher training studios were described in the committee to be a passion, not a profession. This, because the word teacher is used, it's often misunderstood to be training people to teach the classes when in fact people come into the yoga teacher training studios and take this class when they want a higher level of yoga in their own personal workouts. And so I ask for an aye vote on, I renew my motion for an aye vote on 186.
Senator Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also affirm this bill. I've heard from a lot of constituents who are instructors. What I know about the teachers of yoga is that they go through a lot of training. As it's been said by my colleague, they go through a lot of training. They are certified in many ways, and I think it would not enhance the opportunity for these folks to continue almost in this small business sense of way to provide services to their clients. So I wholeheartedly support this bill as well. Thank you for bringing it.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 186? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 186. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 186 is adopted. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
March 5th, 2015, Mr. President, your committee of the whole brings the reports that under consideration the following tax bills being a second reading thereof makes following recommendations are on. Senate Bill 88, Senate Bill 191 as amended, Senate Bills 187, 182, Senate Bill 186 as amended, passed on second reading in order to engross, place on counter for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1055 passed on second reading in order to revise, place on counter for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 137 laid over until March 10th, 2015, retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the report.
Is there further discussion on the Committee of the Whole report? Are there any no votes? For 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 188, Senate Bill 191 as amended, Senate Bill 187, Senate Bill 182, Senate Bill 186 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1055 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 137 laid over until March 10th and retaining its place on the calendar. Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment or two of personal privilege.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The Senate will proceed out of order for multiple items. Senator Kafalis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to spend a couple of minutes honoring the United States Peace Corps. On March 1st, 1961, the Peace Corps was established, and I'd like to share with you the words from this tribute that we put together. The state of Colorado, the Senate and House of Representatives convened in the first regular session of the 70th General Assembly, hereby extends heartiest appreciation and proud to honor the United States Peace Corps. 54 years ago this week, our nation launched an effort that would forever change the way Americans see the world and the way the world sees us. This week, our nation pays tribute to the more than 220,000 men and women who have served in 140 countries around the world in the United States Peace Corps. These Americans embody, and there's some of them over there, and I was one of them, these Americans embody our country's finest tradition of service, fostering hope, goodwill, and friendship to the farthest corners of the world. Today, 6,818 Americans, including 236 Coloradans, are currently serving across the globe, helping people help themselves in the spirit of sustainable and responsible development. The members of the Colorado General Assembly commend and congratulate the Peace Corps for 54 years of encouraging progress, creating opportunity, and fostering mutual respect and understanding throughout the world. On request of Senator John Kafalis and Representative Jenny Arndt, given this 5th day of March 2015, State Capital, Denver, Colorado.
Continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know time is always of the essence, but I just wanted to take a moment or two to share a little bit of overview and some facts about the Peace Corps that I think you might find interesting. Well, first of all, I think you know that the idea for the Peace Corps came about, has its roots in 1960, when then State Senator John F. Kennedy challenged students at the University of Michigan to serve their country by living and working in some of the most remote corners of the world. He ignited a movement among young Americans and inspired the nation and led to the founding of the Peace Corps. In an ever-changing world, the agency has become a dynamic, forward-leaning champion for international service, defined by its innovation and compassion, yet its original mission remains the same. It's interesting that currently today, Peace Corps, there are 64 host countries. In terms of who serves, in terms of gender, 63% are female, 37% are male, so a shout out to the females there once again. Marital status, 94% are single, 6% are married. 25% of folks who serve in the Peace Corps are minorities. The average age of a Peace Corps volunteer is 28. Volunteers over the age of 50, 7% of volunteers. As we mentioned earlier, there are currently 236 Coloradans serving in the United States Peace Corps, and since 1961, more than 7,000 folks have served. And in conclusion, I'll just share with you that the percentage of total volunteers serving by geographic region, I think this is also interesting. 45% of Peace Corps volunteers serve in Africa, 23% in Latin America, 10% in Eastern Europe, Central Asia, 12% in Asia, 4% in the Caribbean, 3% in North Africa and the Middle East, and 3% in the Pacific Islands. Colleagues, thank you very much for listening. I think you know that I also served in the Peace Corps, 1979 to 1980. I worked as an agricultural extensionist in El Salvador, Central America. And upon graduation from CSU, I went into the Peace Corps a year later, and it was a transformative experience. We did a lot of work around soil and water conservation, work with farmers in terms of growing particular varieties of sorghum in order to make silage, and a variety of other projects. And again, it was an amazing experience for me, and you may doubt this, but I think I'm all the better for having had that experience. Thank you, colleagues, for listening. Thank you very much.
Can we join Senator Koufalos and welcome his guests? Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Members, today is Chronic Care Awareness Day, Chronic Disease Awareness Day at the Capitol. And with us, we have the Chronic Care Collaborative folks in our chambers today. With chronic disease, heart disease, cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, and stroke are the leading causes of death in the United States. 7 of every 10 deaths, 70% of the U.S. result from chronic conditions. Heart disease is the leading cause of death among both men and women, followed by cancer and chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Stroke is 4th, diabetes is 7th. Chronic disabling conditions cause major limitations in activity for more than 1 of every 10 Americans. In fact, statistics show that some of us right here in this room suffer from a chronic condition. 25 million people across America. Chronic diseases also are costly to states in particular, yet they are among the most preventable of health problems. In 2010, $30 billion with a B was spent on health care just in the state of Colorado. $2.5 billion was spent on care for people with cancer. The cost of diabetes in 2006, for instance, for people in Colorado was estimated at $2.5 billion. So this is it's an incredible issue healthcare-wise that we need to look at not only personally in our communities, but also in the legislature. The Colorado Health Institute projects that if there isn't significant change in our health or in the way care is provided, diabetes will cost $8.3 billion by 2030. That's Colorado. $5.3 billion in healthcare costs, and then for the employers, $3 billion in lost productivity. So with that in mind, we requested tribute for the Chronic Care Collaborative, and these are folks who are in our chamber today who are trying to get the word out about how can we help with either funding or awareness or education on these chronic conditions so that we can help not only each other personally, but also curtail our costs in Colorado. So the Colorado Legislature hereby extends heartiest congratulations and commendation to the Chronic Care Collaborative. As the guiding voice of 31 voluntary health organizations within the state, whose main purpose is to advocate and inform regarding health policy issues that affect people living with chronic disease, the collaborative aims to educate and promote prevention and wellness that ultimately benefits people living in Colorado. It represents the 1 in 4 Coloradans, or 1.2 million citizens, who live with a chronic illness. The collaborative is dedicated to promoting community-based services, mental health services to those living with chronic disease, integrating the care of Medicaid and Medicare, and advocating for access to affordable coverage. It is committed to finding solutions for the common problems of those living with chronic disease, on request of Senator Linda Newell and Bill Cabinet, President of the Senate. And I do want to also mention some of those chronic diseases also are Alzheimer's and multiple sclerosis, and those with high evidences or incidence in Colorado. So I want to say thank you so much for those of you with the, bless you, with the Chronic Care Collaborative. Thank you for being here today. And if you did not meet your senator yet, then I'll grab him over for you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please welcome Senator Newell's guests as well. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're going to put together our...
That'll be $2.
Oh.
Would you care to continue? Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, what we've just seen here is the beginning, the inaugural moment, and it was fitting that I would be the one to do that, for the Dollars for Demerits program that is now being initiated in the Senate. And so, Mr. President, in keeping with our, thank you, sir, I'm going to make some money up here. I'm $2 ahead.
Yeah, it's $2 each.
I too would ask for a moment of personal privilege, Mr. President.
For $3, granted.
Amen. Colleagues, for a number of years since I came to this place, the introduction I was going to make was always fairly easy, and I never got fined for it because I was always able to introduce my mother, who is well, I'm happy to report, but just wasn't able to be with us today. But she served as the elected past president of the Colorado Federation of Republican Women and the Douglas County Republican Women. But she is not here, but her colleagues are. And you'll find them all over the Capitol today, dressed in red, so as you bump into them, I encourage you to greet them warmly. I know my own Chairman Marcia Haeflein is here from the Douglas County Republican Women.
That's a couple more bucks.
Thank you, Mr. President. See, I'm getting us used to this, colleagues. The inaugural day for this program. Anyway, we are
well as we approach the end of the session, won't we?
We're very glad that they're here, and I would ask Mr. President, I know there's going to be a specific elected official that's introduced, and as much as I was looking forward to that introduction, I will let my colleague do that. But if we could join in welcoming these groups, I would appreciate that.
Please welcome Senator Shuffle's guests.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, President Cadman.
Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, it's a distinct honor to introduce one of the Republican women here, my companion of 31 years, wife of 28 years, and the treasurer of Douglas County for 5 years, Diane Holbert.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also have somebody else that's with the Jefferson County Republican Women, and also a member of our family, my sister-in-law, Julie Williams. She's also elected school board member from Jefferson County. So thanks for being here, Julie.
Governor's appointments consent calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read all the appointments on the governor's appointments consent calendar?
Member of the Statewide Internet Portal Authority for a term expiring June 1st, 2018, Mary Kay Hogan of Denver, Colorado, as a representative of the private sector reappointed. Member of the Pinnacle Assurance Board of Directors effective January 1st, 2015, for a term expiring January 1st, 2020. Mark David Goodman of Denver, Colorado, an employer whose liability is insured by Pinnacle Assurance, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate confirm the members of the governor's appointments listed on the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar, which includes a member of the Statewide Internet Portal Authority and a member of the Pinnacle Assurance Board of Directors.
Colleagues, I must remind you that we are voting regardless of the fact that we are on consent calendar. Members, we are voting. Members, we are voting. Are there any no votes on any? Is there further discussion on any of the appointments on the consent calendar? Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Mary Kay Hogan is confirmed on the Statewide Internet Portal Authority. With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Mark David Goodman is confirmed on the Pinnacle Assurance Board of Directors. Signing of bills.
March 4, 2015, the President signed House Bills 1021, 1023, 1047, and 1121.
Delivery to the Governor.
To the Governor for signature on Wednesday, March 4th, 2015 at 10:30 a.m. Senate Bills 10, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 41, 82, 108, 112, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 149, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 158, 160, 162, 163, 164, 165, 166, 167, 168, 169, and 170.
Committee reports.
March 4, 2015, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following: Senate Bill 92 be postponed indefinitely.
Announcements. Okay, we can be cheery again. Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, this afternoon at 5 o'clock, Colorado Ski Country is having a reception over at Palettes Restaurant at the Art Museum, and would like to have your attendance if you could be there. Thank you.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ad hoc meeting of the Senate Yoga Conference will commence upon adjournment in Senator Hill's office.
Are there any real announcements? Senator Crowder.
Moment of personal privileges.
Granted.
I think you need to be aware we have a senator here that made the news last night, and I'll name him by name, Senator Baumgardner. We had quite an event happen yesterday. The Colorado State Patrol, they were making their sweep across Colfax, and there was an individual there that was a homeless individual that didn't have any shoes on. His shoes were stolen through the night, and it was cold yesterday. So the state patrolman come around and started asking around for people for a little bit of help, and Senator Baumgardner stepped up to the plate and said he had a pair of tennis shoes and socks in his car. And I felt that this ought to be acknowledged. I think that, there's times when we can help our fellow citizens, and I believe this is one of them. So Senator Baumgardner, on behalf of Southern Colorado, we thank you.
Senator Baumgardner, thank you. Further announcements. Senator Newell.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I just wanted to remind you that today is at noon is our Senator Sonnenberg and I are inviting you to the Managing Water for Natural Disaster Prevention presentation. And would love to see you there in 354 at noon. Thank you.
Further announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the Senate adjourn to 9 a.m. Friday, March 6th.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Senate will be adjourned until 9 a.m. Friday, March 6th.